Why do we have a baseball team in Canada?
She doesn't think Canada should have sports teams.
No, I don't think they should be in our sports leagues. Get your own sports league. Taxes? That seems confusing.
Yeah, definitely.
It seems legitimately very strange that we have broad, overarching government body and then 30 micro businesses beneath it, one of which is in a different country. If the EPL had one team in France, that would be confusing. And not just because there's a global pandemic and they can't go home. I'm Hannah Kaiser, and this is The Bandwagon.
Yeah!
It's been a while since we talked about specific teams and, rooting for them on here, which was sort of originally the whole premise of the show. So we're going to get back to that today and tell you who to bandwagon. The catch is they don't exist yet. Let's back up. Rob Manfred has said before that Major League Baseball can't pursue expansion until they settle the situation with the Rays and A's stadiums. And not because everyone at the commissioner's office is just too busy to think about an influx of the $2 billion for the price of a new team. It's just that the potential expansion markets are currently more useful to make the cities of Oakland and Tampa jealous than as opportunities to grow the game. This all got a little more real for Oakland recently, with the implicit option to relocate not doing much to motivate the city to make close to $1 billion available for a new stadium project. The owners made a show of conspicuously clearing their throat while the league cracked its knuckles behind them and talked about how sad it was that Oakland had already lost 2 of their teams and what a shame it would be if something happened to the A's. Whenever a new location gets floated in these conversations, people get really excited about the possibility of going to games there. And yes, I love that for all of us who have emotionally and professionally invested in baseball. But what if, and stay with me here, we specifically undermined the owner's ability to over multiple cities by just giving a few new fan bases a team of their own and thereby eliminating the leverage to leave. See, keep the A's in Oakland and expand to other markets. What would that look like exactly? I don't really know because they don't exist. But we can pretend by bandwagoning, we don't have a hat. The Portland Ponies!
Yeah!
The Pacific Northwest is wide open for a halfway competent team to swoop in and steal the least loyal segment of the Mariners' vast and vocal fan base. Seattle is currently the most isolated team geographically, and while I'm not sure that there's anyone living in Idaho or Montana, Portland has more people than 5 current MLB cities. It's also got the 21st biggest media market and NBA and MLS teams with some of the best attendance numbers in their leagues. Why the Ponies, you might be wondering? Well, there's actually already a group of eager rich people headed up by a former Nike executive trying to bring baseball to Portland, and part of their plan includes restoring a 20-ton carousel from the early 20th century and just plopping it right outside the ballpark. The group is calling themselves the Portland Diamond, but I think we can swap that out for something with a little more character and unique candy-colored uniform potential. Tough to tell exactly what's going on in these glossy renderings, but it looks like we have a semi-sunken waterfront stadium with an outfield plaza leading to a row of food trucks and a covered carousel. I have nothing snarky to say because it's classy, and as long as Russell Wilson and Ciara are footing the bill, I'm all for it. See, now here's where we would make a joke about the city being populated by hipsters, and by now that stereotype is pretty played out, but actually young yuppies spending their parents' money on rediscovering retro hobbies and growing fiercely protective of them, in part because of how niche they've become, is pretty much an ideal target audience for a baseball team named for a classic amusement park attraction. Maybe they could mandate all the players have handlebar mustaches. Alternate name? The Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
That gives us a West Coast team, and for realignment's sake, we are going to move back east and bandwagon, again, no hat, the Nashville Records.
Yeah.
Like with Portland, there is already a group working to secure an MLB team in the city while touting a robust, quote, leadership roster. Like, really, really, really robust. Where else are you going to get an org chart with Dave Stewart and Justin Timberlake on it? They've promised a privately funded and apparently very shiny stadium for a franchise they're calling the Stars after a former Nashville Negro League team. And I really like that homage, but I couldn't resist renaming it something with more musician-athlete pun crossover potential. Besides, why should the Padres get to have the only enviable Earth Code teammates anyway? Make more brown uniforms. It's very in this year. Nashville is a growing market that could capture everyone caught between the Braves and Cardinals territory. It already churns out big league talent from the top-tier Vanderbilt program. I can't imagine a population more primed to appreciate baseball's big-ass American flags than country music capital. And I'm sure all those bachelorette parties would love to have a destination where you can day drink and ogle men in uniform before they hit the honky-tonk bars. I do have one quibble with the current plan to put a team for Nashville, and for that we need to bring back the aspirational stadium renderings. I'm sorry, is that a floating concert venue that shares a wall with the right field stands? That's gotta be about the vibes and not the actual architecture, right? Let's go to the diagram! Oh no, that appears to literally be a covered entertainment living room that is, quote, integrated into ballpark. Are they trying to host concurrent live music and ball games? That sounds very, very loud. Obviously, these are not the only two options for expansion sites, but they're my favorites based at least in part on where I'd like to go for a game. But the most important thing, no matter where MLB decides to bring baseball next, is that we don't ask taxpayers to fund billionaires' business ventures.
The Vlad Jr. breakout.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is very good, and he's still very young. He's 22. It's 2 years after he debuted. There was a really good story by James Wagner of the New York Times, and it was like, Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s grandmother lives with him and she cooks for him. And this is very cute. He's 20 years old. She makes all of his Dominican favorites. She makes so much food that he takes it to Dominican teammates, Dominican opposition. And that story came out in 2019. It was like very, very cute. It was like, oh my God, she cooks all of his favorite foods. And then there was a story that came out this year that was like, team asks Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s grandmother, please stop cooking so much food for him. He needs to lose weight. And it was like, who could have seen this coming? I don't know. It's very good that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is very good. It would have been really sad if he was not good. Like, it's tough to go from people talking about whether or not you should be a Hall of Famer before you've like ever played a game to still impressing people with your actual production. And he has managed to do that. And it only took him until he was 22, and it's still really cool. Yeah.
Joe West.
Cowboy Joe is now the, I believe, record-holding most ever officiated games umpire. That's not the most efficient way to say that, but it's true. It's accurate. And so now maybe he'll retire. Bam.
Bleach and blonde hair.
Oh, that's sorry. That's me. I dyed my hair blonde. Do you guys like it?
Fan.
Yeah.
So much maintenance. Here's the thing about dyeing your hair blonde. First, you have hair that requires like minimal maintenance. And then you're like, what if I paid a lot of money to have to pay more money? And for some reason, we do it anyway. I don't know why we do it. It looks really good. But I'm a fan for now. I'm probably not going to keep it. I got to be honest. It's a lot of upkeep. Also, a bunch of y'all, literally these people, texted me and they're like, what are you going to do about your eyebrows? And I was like, leave them the same? What? And then I read every one of those texts to my hairdresser and she was like, men are dumb.
True. That's fair. That's fair.
Fan.
Memorial Day weekend
Is coming up, and I don't care because it was my birthday this past weekend. So, not a fan because it was 90 degrees this past weekend, and none of the beaches and none of the pools in New York City were open because it wasn't yet Memorial Day weekend, and it's going to be like 65 and rainy on Memorial Day weekend. Classic New York. This week on Humble Proposal, my guest is reigning AL Cy Young Award winner Shane Bieber, who's going to tell us how he would fix baseball. Take it away, Shane.
I would enjoy baseball a little bit more. We could open up the strike zone. I say, well, let's make it even bigger. No, that's kind of a joke. I know that there's a lot going on right now with pitching and ways to change the game. Maybe moving the mound back or making the strike zone smaller, bringing robot umps. But yeah, if I got one proposal, let's make that strike zone bigger.
Why though? So here's what I'm saying.
Because I'm a pitcher.
You need your guys to get some runs. How are they going to score?
I love our guys. I got all the confidence in the world in our guys, whether the pitch is in the zone or out of the zone.
So I'm taking it, you don't love moving the mound back.
I don't love moving the mound back, no.
What about automated balls and strikes, robo-umps?
I don't know. I go back and forth on that one. It takes away a crucial part of the game. I love umpires, and they have an extremely difficult job, as well as people aren't thinking about the art and the craft of being a catcher and working with a pitcher and framing pitches and receiving pitches and presenting them to the umpires. And it's a whole intricate part of the game that could potentially be affected. All
right, so now is when I give my official ruling, and I don't want you to think that I can't appreciate a pitcher's duel, because I love a pitcher's duel. I am not a fan of your humble proposal. I gotta stick up for your teammates. Position players, they gotta get hits, they gotta get paid in arbitration, they gotta get
No, they absolutely do. Like I said, I got the utmost confidence in my guys, but maybe I'll go back and create a nice lengthy PowerPoint proposal and
I'd love
maybe
to see it. Get some
sway your
dimensions.
opinion.
Yeah, I want to see numbers. I want to hear testimonials from catchers.
All right.
So we'll have you back on the show. Thanks for doing this, Shane.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
This week we talked about how expansion would be way better than relocation from a literal community standpoint, and everything we said was sort of made up, the team names and the colors and the logos. Shout out to Ron. The importance of where teams play, that part is very real. We say sports are like real life, and it's not just like in an allegorical sense. It's because they affect communities and gentrification and environment and traffic patterns and tax rates. And so all of this stuff is like in some ways the realest part of sports, even though it's kind of boring.
Expand!
Yeah.